Hello, everyone. It is 5:30 p.m. and I now call to order the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education meeting. This is the October 14th, 2021 meeting. Notice of this meeting has been advertised in the Grand Island Independent, which is the district's designated method of giving notice of these meetings. We want those in attendance to know that copies of the Opens Meetings Act are available at the entrance to the boardroom. If anyone in attendance is interested in addressing our board, you are welcome to do so. We simply request that you complete the appropriate form and turn it in to us now so that you may be recognized during the request to address the board part of our meeting. If you have not already completed the form, please see the staff person outside the entrance to this room. Public comment is welcome. We do ask that no signs be brought into the boardroom. Mrs. Simmons, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hinkle?
Present.
Mrs. Albers?
Present.
Mr. Brown?
Present.
Mrs. Jurgens?
Present.
Mr. Barsonis?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Here.
Ms. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Brose is absent and has given prior notice and absence is excused. Mr. Helinski?
Here.
Thank you. Agenda item 3 is our mission statement. Ms. Wolf, would you please read that for us?
Yes. Every student, every day, a success. In educating students, we teach hearts as well as minds. Within the school district of Grand Island, every student has access to high-quality, culturally responsive, and engaging learning environments. Every student will develop literacy skills across disciplines. Every student is socially and emotionally equipped to thrive in school and in life. Every student will graduate as a college, career, and community-ready citizen.
Thank you. Agenda item 4 is the consent agenda, and on this month's agenda is 4.1, minutes from the previous month's meeting, 4.2, claims as submitted, 4.3, grant report update, 4.4, bid proposals as submitted, 4.5, staff adjustments as submitted, 4.6, treasurer's report as submitted, 4.7 are the policies, including 2111, board operating principles on final read, 2210, board organizational meeting on final read, 2216, Board of Education student member on final read, 2220, board officers on final read, 4312, internal controls for federal and state awards on final read, 4480, contracts, agreements, and memorandum of understanding on final read, 7705, special education policies on final read, 8320, compulsory attendance ages final read, 9420, distribution of advertising and promotional final read, 1310, non-discrimination first read, 6215, bullying and harassment for staff on first read, 6411, equal opportunity and affirmative action on first read, 8455, bullying and harassment for students on first read, and 4.8 is the approval of the agenda as submitted. This is the consent agenda as published. Would anyone like to remove any items or add any items to the consent agenda? Does anyone have a potential conflict of interest on agenda item 4.2? If so, please check the number that you will be abstaining from voting on. Mrs. Albers.
I have a conflict of interest on check number 78258. I will abstain from voting on
That one.
that one. But I'll vote on everything else. There you go.
Would you like to make a recommendation to approve?
And I would like to make a recommendation to approve.
Second, Mr. Brown, please vote. Motion passes. Thank you. Now we get some fun times here, things that we haven't been able to do too much of in the last year. 5.2, so sorry, is special recognition, and we're going to start with Project Search. Michelle Ahonis, who is the instructor coordinator of Project Search. Is she? If you would, please, thank you. Yeah, I saw that. So.
I'm going to have some of you come over here. Go around. I'm Michelle Honas, the Project Search Coordinator. Thank you to the Board of Education and the community of Grand Island for letting us take this time to recognize these students for the 70 to 90% Employment Outcome Award. So what exactly is Employment Outcomes Award? Well, upon entering Project Search, each student has to sign a contract that they're willing to try to seek employment once they complete Project Search after 1 year. To meet that outcome award, the goal is for every graduate of Project Search to gain some type of employment, totaling at least 16 hours. Project Search strives to achieve that goal by creating an atmosphere with high expectations and an inclusive work environment. Every one of these interns completed 2 full rotations that lasted approximately 9 to 10 weeks and a variety of internships at CHI Health. All skills that were learned were marketable and transferable to the current employment setting. This was a huge accomplishment because COVID-19 halted our program and we had to go virtual. It was extremely difficult to work on job skills through Zoom, but we got creative and we navigated through technology. We focused on job skills such as resumes, interview skills, updating our professional binders and resources. Project Search has an incredible partnership that has helped make the program successful. I'd like to introduce you to a few people. Joan Feeney from Developmental Disability, Felipe Cruz from Voc Rehab, Chris McMullen, our special educator, coordinator from Gips. These people help bridge the transition for our students from the educational setting to the workforce. CHI Health St. Francis, our host business, provides incredible internships and mentors and supervisors, which give our interns valuable skills to take in the next setting. Dr. Frank Porter is our business liaison for Project Search, as well as Vice President of CHI. His knowledge and expertise of the hospital has been instrumental in forming new departments. Most importantly, there are 2 dynamic ladies that need to be recognized. 2 skilled trainers, Mindy Lavallure and Tracy Clausen. They both work tirelessly to problem solve and to support the intern into making them more valuable for the workforce. Now I'd like to introduce to you the intern. The first student I'd like to introduce is Kyle Petrovsky. What's unique about Kyle? He had a servant heart for our host business. He was always volunteering for special events like Superhero Sunday, Trick or Trunk, and Harvest of Harmony. He is currently employed at CHI as a dishwasher. Erica Stahl. She wasn't afraid to learn. She was so willing to push herself to be a better candidate for the workforce. She was a great peer model, always willing to help other classmates when they were struggling. She is currently employed at Barr Middle School as a dishwasher. Lindsay Perez. Lindsay has such a contagious personality. She was placed in the internship where the elderly people embraced her bubbly personality. She is always passionate about making them feel comfortable and at ease. She is currently attending Goodwill Services and is seeking a job. William Whelan. William knew what hard work was the minute he came to Project Search. He had incredible work ethic. He would always buckle down and get everything accomplished in record time. He was very driven and focused at getting better each day. He is currently employed at Ball Sports Bar as a dishwasher. James Young. This young man had an eye for detail. He would find things that didn't belong there or correct the situation if it wasn't the way it was supposed to be. He had an amazing memory, as well as a great sense of humor. He deployed with Olive Garden as the busser and waved bonsai pizza in Hastings. Spencer Prentice. Spencer was well known for his independency. He advocated for his own needs with very little support. He was also known for his social skill. He was the friendliest greeter and made new friends quickly at CHI. He's employed at Sportsman Warehouse. Nathan Cluth. Nathan had a strong desire to learn and grow beyond what he already knew. Nathan challenged himself and took the CNA classes at the college and passed both the written and performance assessment through the state. He's employed at CHI as a dietary assistant. Macy Carter. Macy had the most incredible glow about her. She came to school always happy and willing to try anything. She always got her classroom started off just right with her smiles and laughter. Macy had limited use of one hand. We would challenge her to use both hands so her production would increase. She never complained when the tasks were too difficult. She would attempt the task repeatedly until she was successful. She truly had a rare gift of pursuing things until she accomplished the task. Macy suddenly passed away in June of this year. This is a difficult time for our class. One thing that was really unique though, every single class member came to either celebrate her life visitation or the funeral. Macy loved getting Starbucks or Sonic drinks. Our class celebrated after the visitation by going to Sonic and honoring Macy with her favorite drink. She was the sunshine and joy of our classroom. We miss her contagious personality. She is employed as a forever angel and protector over Project Search. What made this class so special is they were motivated to come to school. Typically, you have to put in some sort of incentive to try to get them to come to school and strive for that perfect attendance. Not this class. So you can imagine what it was like when COVID-19 came. All of a sudden, we're not in Project Search, but they desperately wanted to learn. All of us, including staff, indeed learned how to navigate through technology. Every one of them got on daily. My job was so easy that year because they were eager to learn, participated in class daily, rarely ever missed school, and the relationship skills they had with each other and the remaining staff were strong. This class is so deserving of this recognition, and I'm extremely proud of each of them. Congratulations.
We are so proud of all of you. Congratulations. It's just amazing. And the closeness of your group is very heartwarming. So we're all happy you're here tonight. And I think you probably have some special people in the audience, and so maybe those that are with you here tonight could stand up and be recognized as well. Parents, guardians, friends. Any other Board of Education members have questions or want to say anything? Mr. Barsonis?
I say thank you. Thank you. Project Search is one of my favorite parts of the community. Not only do we have great partnerships and just a great community, but every time I get to see many of you in different parts of the community, you truly make our community a great place to live. Always smiling, always willing to serve and help out. Project Search, all of you that are helping with the Project Search and all the partners, it's just an amazing thing that you're doing. So thank you all for being here.
Yes. Mr. Helinski?
Just be proud of what you do. Just be proud of who you are. especially during COVID. I can't imagine what you guys did during those. That's gotta be, I mean, it was hard for everybody, but just echoing Carlos, it's an awesome program, and just be proud of what you've accomplished and what you're gonna do, and just the trails that you have blazed for the people that are gonna come up behind you. So congrats to all of you.
And just to let you know, each of you will receive a certificate from the public schools. I'm sure it's not as awesome as the award you've already received, but we just want, it's our way of recognizing you and saying thank you again for all that you've done for us. So congratulations.
Thank you.
How's that? You gotta do it? Can we go up on the step, just so I can get everyone in, and, yes, that's right. One, two, three. All right, almost better.
If any parents or guardians or individuals want to come up and take pictures, you sure can.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That was, I know. It was. All right, so thank you, everyone. So at the beginning of the meeting, if you got here early enough, you saw a slideshow. We were showing all of the principals here at Grand Island Public Schools, because this is National Principals Month, and we just wanted to take a moment to recognize them for everything that they do for us. There was one quote on there that talked about how strong, I'm going to paraphrase it, but strong leaders today make great leaders in the future. And that is so true, that they are the examples within their schools, and students are so much better for having them in their lives. And so we are very, very grateful for all of our principals, and wanted to say congratulations to all of them. And there might be a few of you here. Maybe you stand up if you're here. Go ahead, stand up. Okay, just wave.
I'm going to make him stand up here in just a minute. So.
All right.
Yeah, I'd like to just say just a few words. Good evening. Thank you, President Hinkle, for recognizing our school leaders. They definitely are, basically they're second in line as having the biggest impact on our students, other than our teachers that have that face-to-face with our kids every day. So we really value who they are and what they do. Times have changed for our principals over a period of time. You know, in the past, our principals really served more of a management and operational leadership role, and in today's world, our principals are really instructional leaders. So not only are they balancing operations, management, but they're also ensuring that our kids are learning the knowledge and skills that they need to know and they need to be able to do in order to be successful for their futures. And that also goes with visioning and leading the vision of the school, creating the culture where it's safe, predictable for our students and our staff. So I have the pleasure of working directly with our principals, and I want you to know that I experience every day that they're always thinking of others before they think of themselves. They have had to adapt, adjust, innovate, especially given all the disruptions of the pandemic the last 18 months. Their role is complex, like I said, given the management of the daily operations, the communication, the instructional leadership that is required of them. It's pretty exhausting work. But I have to say that in every meeting, in every conversation, in every email that I get, once in a while, I get an email from our principals, every one of them remain focused on making decisions that are really about taking actions that are in the best interest of our students. They're solution focused, and they're always seeking ways to navigate the challenges with empathy, with grace, and collaboration. We should be very proud of them and thankful for their leadership at our schools. Knowing this, I ask that we also remember that they are human, that they have families, they have lives outside of school, and that they are making sacrifices every day because they believe in the work that we do in Grand Island Public Schools. We are truly blessed about how deeply they care about our students. So I do invite you, and I do invite our community, just to help to join me in recognizing our school leaders. I know many of them, it's been a long week with parent-teacher conferences, so many of them are actually online watching tonight, because I said, get on and listen, we're going to be celebrating you. So I know a lot of them are doing that, or we'll come back to the recording as well. But we do have some of our principals in the audience, so I'll have them stand. Thank you. Mr. John Hauser, Charity Labrie, and Ms. Amy Richards. So we'll congratulate them.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next we're going to celebrate Mary Poppins, the Gish musical. Dr. Lee.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Evan Lee. I'm the new Fine Arts Coordinator for the district. And I'm not going to talk a whole lot because we've got some very well-spoken kids here that are going to talk a little bit about the Mary Poppins musical that's coming up. So I'm just going to turn it over to them.
Well, we'll start off by introducing ourselves. I'm Chloe Holsinger, and I play Mary Poppins.
My name is Gage Brockmeyer, and I play Bert.
My name is John Comer, and I play George Banks.
And my name is Ava Labrie, and I play Mrs. Banks.
So I'll first start off by saying that I've been a part of the Grand Island Senior Musicals for 4 years. I started my freshman year with doing Mamma Mia, and I'm finishing out doing Mary Poppins. And over the past 4 years, I have gained experience that I never thought possible from a high school musical. I come from a very small town, and I moved here when I started middle school. And the idea of the opportunities we have at senior high with the musical is incredible. I mean, we fly in a professional choreographer, and we get to work with him for about 3 weeks. And he teaches us stuff that is at such a high level. And it's such an awesome opportunity for us to be able to work with him. And I mean, the idea of doing Mary Poppins as our senior musical, I genuinely couldn't think of a better musical for us to do. And I think this is a great musical that the community is going to really enjoy because there's so many lessons that it teaches. It's not just about, oh, Mary Poppins comes in and makes everything fun. Like, we've learned going through the script that there is a very deep meaning behind everything in the script, and I think that the community is going to be able to connect with that, and they'll leave the musical knowing more than when they entered.
I went through a very similar situation that Chloe did. First musical was Mamma Mia, 4 years ago, and now ending with Mary Poppins. And it's just been really cool to see how every time we put on a production, how our cast and all the kids in the fine arts program unify and really connect with this same message. We have people of different races, different sexuality, different preferences. We're so unique, and yet every time, especially around this time, every time musical comes around, we're all able to combine and really come together as one group and share the same message, and I always think that's a really nice thing. It also makes everybody fit in. I can remember freshman year being very obviously scared and intimidated. You're going into a new environment, and just being able to connect with seniors and juniors and people of different ages that I looked up to and say, hey, we all have the same message. We all have to work together to portray this message to the audience, and I think that's a really cool thing. I would really like to encourage you guys to come down because we're putting on a great show.
As Chloe stated, we fly a professional choreographer. His name's Danny Dwayne Wells II. He's from Chicago, and we decided to give our youth in the community a chance to experience that. So this Saturday, October 16th, from 10 to noon, we will be holding a kids camp, and he will be teaching one of the songs from a musical, and I think it's a really good way to like immerse yourself into the musical, and you can get behind the scenes and see how we learn it and how we perform it. And it's ages 3rd grade through 8th grade, and it's $10 cash at the door.
All right, so our performance will be October 29th through the 30th and the 31st. You can buy tickets online at the gips.org website, and I hope to see you guys there. It'll be a really great show.
Thank you for taking time to come here tonight. I'm sure you probably are going to rehearsal now. Yeah? So we appreciate you taking the time and letting us know about it. It's always a very fun experience, and we're glad you're having a great time with it, too. So, thank you. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Brown has a question or comment?
I have both a comment and a question. First of all, awesome choice. Secondly, this is a musical, so it's singing and dancing. Are you guys excited about the dancing?
Yes, yes.
Because this musical it's got a lot of good dancing in it. The time for the shows, we know the dates, but what are the times for the shows? Just in case people don't know.
The show on the 29th is at 7:30.
Thursday. Yeah.
On the 30th, which is Saturday, we're doing 2 shows, 2 o'clock matinee and 7:30 evening performance. And then Sunday, we're ending it with a 2 o'clock matinee.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I really enjoyed how each of you had something different to say, and I appreciate particularly the young man with the dark hair, how that'd be you, not the facial hair, but just I love how you are able to express the ability for the kids to connect regardless of what grade you're in. I mean, that's really what makes kids successful in school, is being able to have that connection, not only with adults and teachers and coaches, but also with other kids. And sometimes it gets a little hazy and yucky with different grades and different kids, but you found that commonality and that common interest, and you have, it's kind of one for all, and just working toward that common goal, and it just warms my heart, and I'm just so happy to see you guys so happy. So I hope to get there. So best of luck. Break a leg.
I also just wanted to say how much I appreciate your appreciation for being inclusive and excited about the variety of humans involved in this. That's a really beautiful thing, and just the fact that you recognize that is pretty terrific. So thank you, and thank you for doing this awesome production. I can't wait to see it.
Mr. Herlinsky.
Just kind of echoing what Mrs. Juergens said, you guys have a big role to play, and that's to transport that audience from Grand Island Senior High to the magical world of Mary Poppins. And that goes for any theater, doesn't matter. But it's a tough job to do. But you guys are, again, just like I was saying earlier with those kids, you're blazing the trail. And you guys have a responsibility to make sure that you keep that program going by getting the other kids excited. Some of you are seniors, I imagine? All of you seniors? Okay. So you have an entire class coming up behind you, and then behind them, and go on, so on and so forth. So your job there is to make sure that they understand the magic of theater before you guys leave. And if you can do that, theater just touches everybody's heart, and this does things that nothing else can do. Being inclusive. Some of those kids aren't good at sports. Some of those kids may not have a whole lot of friends, but they have theater. And that is so powerful. Sorry, I'm a theater nut. I will be there. But it's awesome, and I try to help out with anything I can. I helped out with Northwest. I help out with Central Catholics, and unfortunately I couldn't help out with yours just due to some other things. I was supposed to be one of the flyers there with Eric, but I couldn't get it with my schedule on one of the nights, and so, but I'm going to be there in the audience cheering you guys on, so break a leg, guys.
If I could add something really fast.
Sure.
I think one of the biggest, like, the best things about musical is that a lot of kids at Grand Island Senior High don't have an amazing home life, and the musical acts as a place where we can escape all of that, and we enter into a whole different world where all that matters is that we have created our own family, and that we can work together and have a common goal and have a place where we feel safe and a place where we can be ourselves. And I think that is so important to have at that school, because I know that not everyone feels like they have a safe space. And I think it's so incredibly powerful that we are able to create that for other people. And that we can let the upcoming freshmen know, or whatever grade they're in know, that no matter what's going on in your life, theater can be your constant. Theater can be that thing that you can rely on no matter what, because you will always have a family there and people who accept you for who you are.
Awesome. That's Thank you. All right, so next we're moving on to campus highlights. This is a great meeting tonight already. The 6.1 is Community Connections Summer Spectacular State Fair. And we have Maureen Ullman, Kevin Butters, Elizabeth Butters, and the Lincoln Elementary students. I think Michelle was going to help us get those out. Oh my goodness. We love it. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Got it? Don't mind me. Oh, yeah, do that. She left me alone.
Okay. Good evening. Here I am again. All right. I gotta hook myself up here. Where are we at? Corey, help me. Okay, help me with this. All right. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Hopefully it'll come up here. Are you guys nervous? Okay, it'll be okay. All right, it'll be okay. All right, well, here we go. This is, welcome. I'm so glad you guys have us do these things. We have so much fun. Anyway, I just want you to know that these students participated in a summer school at Lincoln, and we targeted some specific students in kindergarten, first and second grade. And in addition to the reading and math targeted support, we did a little project. And the little project was very successful. And we have some special people in our audience that are going to help with us tonight. And I'm going to let Mr. Butters kind of take over and talk about how this came to fruition. And we have some state fair representatives here with us this evening. And we have Mr. Bill Ogg, if he'll wave. There we go. And Judy Harper, who's been my best friend for a while. And then her assistant, Jan, is in here somewhere too. Okay, so they're here and they're going to present the students with something really special. And if you look behind you or over on the north wall here, this is their project, okay? And I'll let Mr. Butters take over from here. I have Mr. Butters here, Mrs. Butters, and I have Marlena Ramirez here, and then I have Letty Acosta and Julissa Aranda. And they are all the teaching staff that worked with the kids during those 2 weeks, and so they are here with us tonight. So we'll get started.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good evening. First time caller, long time listener. So excited to be here. When Maureen talked about doing this summer school activity, I knew that we would do reading and math, but I thought we should do something kind of fun. And my wonderful wife always kind of puts this bug into my ear that we should do the state fair education projects because kids can get ribbons, they can get scholarships, and so I thought this would be a great time to do that. We looked through all the activities you could do, and one of them was an art project, a group art project for K through 2, which was exactly what we were targeting anyway. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to do that. I love art, and my family, I come from an art family, and I thought this would be a good time to do art. Marlena does a lot of art, so we thought, here's a great opportunity for the kids to do some art. And so we talked about primary colors and secondary colors and how you can make secondary colors. And it was really cool because you'd see these kids put together blue and red, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, it turned into purple. It was like the most amazing magic trick ever presented to anybody. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah. And so, shameless plug for art in JIPS. That was just, that type of thing. But it was great, and it was so fun to see the kids put together this awesome piece of work. We talked about what lifts us up, because obviously we've all had some tough couple years, so figuring out and talking about what lifts us up is a great theme for this wing as well. So we put it together and ended up winning first place.
And they won. All right. And then we just have a couple slides here. I put the staff, those that participated. Beth Sheeks was also a teacher. I didn't mention her tonight. And then here are the students working at summer school. And here is them starting their art project. Do you guys remember doing that? Yeah. And then you can see each of the colors. We just had set up a station, and I really think you guys had a lot of fun. And then they did record a video, and I want to play that for you now.
Being always up. My dog lifted me up to play with my friends and lift me up. My favorite shirt lifts me up. My puppy lifts me up.
Lifts you up.
My dog lifts me up. My mom lifts me up. The thing that lifts me up is my mom. My mom lifts me up. The thing that lifts me up is my mom.
You up.
Chocolate lifts me up.
You up.
A cookie lifts me up.
You up.
The sunny day. My dog lifts me up.
Anyway, I just thought that was so sweet. And I love the last one when Leslie said that the sun lifts me up. And what a great thing to recognize and to say. And I just want to thank all of the teachers that worked with these students and did this project. And then I'm going to have Mr. Ogg and Judy Harper come up, and they have some ribbons for the kids. And so I'm going to have them come up at this time and present them with the ribbons. Want to say something? Go ahead and talk in.
While Judy is handing out ribbons to these budding artists, I'm Bill Ogg, Executive Director of the Nebraska State Fair. Thank you for the opportunity to interrupt your very important work on the Grand Island School Board. I know you deal with lots of issues, and I want you to know personally and professionally how much I respect your investment in this public service. But this occasion is for fun. And isn't it neat that we can come together tonight and celebrate? The Nebraska State Fair shares in your very important mission of education. And while not necessarily a classroom environment per se, I think we offer significant education for all ages, but significantly our youth, and we're very focused on that. So Judy shares with me, Judy's our schools department superintendent for the state fair. There were 19 entries in this very department. So bringing this to Lincoln Elementary is not, just an easy feat. They are champions, and we recognize and applaud that. In addition to the individual modest awards, there is a financial honorarium, and to Principal Ullman, present $100 for being the grand champion in the K through second grade division of our arts department. So again, thank you for letting us come to your meeting. Look forward to meeting and working with you more closely, and congratulations, kids. You're the best tonight. We're here for you.
And just a note, their parents are here tonight. We have a room in the Challenge Center, and all of the seats are filled, and the parents are there with their other siblings. And so we are going to take a picture here, and then we're going to take all the kids back to that room and let everybody get their pictures with the kids. So we're excited about that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, kids.
Kids, look at Mrs. Hinkle. Turn around and look at Mrs. Hinkle.
We are so proud of you. That is so awesome what you did. And I love that your ribbons are full of colors, because that's what you learned about, was the colors. So that is so awesome. Thank you for bringing home the big prize for Grand Island Public Schools in Lincoln Elementary. Congratulations. And to the parents, we're sorry that there's not enough room in this room for you, but please know we're very proud of you, and we appreciate you getting your kids there and supporting your kids through this, because what an awesome thing. And we hope to see you back here again next year, okay? Yeah. All right. Mr. Helinski?
Just real quick before, I believe the director, Mr. Ogden, you said that you're interrupting our meeting. You're not. This is why we are all up here, just so you know. This is never an interruption, especially the last couple of meetings we have gotten a little intense. This is a great break. Anytime the kids get to come in here from whatever level of education they're at, this is why we're all here. So you guys did an awesome job in representing Grand Island Public Schools as a whole. So congratulations to every single one of you.
You're just so adorable. I love that age. You're so good, Mom. Ready?
Hey, David, look at me. Everybody, look at me. Genesis. I'd say smile, but I couldn't see your face. All right.
My phone. On, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, do you want to get
All right,
teachers?
Do you want teachers? All right,
Yes,
all this
yes.
teachers, staff.
Yes, get up there.
Okay.
You get it first.
Oh, yeah, that's better.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. You got it. All right.
Now we're all going to go back.
Nice job. Good job, guys. Way to go. Thanks, friends, for being here. Good job, scholars. Good job. Way to go. Bye-bye. Thanks, scholars. You guys are amazing.
All right, and the fun continues with 6.2, the impact of FEV tutoring. Mr. Hauser and Ms. Luber. And it looks like Dr. Palmer.
I'm just going to set up their little thing here. So they're really the ones that need to be celebrating with you. So what a fun night. Okay, I think we're good to go.
Thank you. Well, this has kind of been a fun night already, but we have to follow this. So, hi, I'm Mr. Hauser. I'm the principal at Star Elementary School. Thank you for this opportunity for us to share a campus highlight. This is just one of the little things that we do at Star that we work for the students. Approximately about a month ago, we ended up finding out that we qualified for the FEV tutoring program. And so my academic coach and I started working on this, and Miss Hannah Luber jumped in immediately and volunteered to start leading some of this. And so I have had the privilege of Hannah being involved with us ever since we started this. And so I'm going to turn this over to Hannah so that she can really tell you the whole ins and outs of this program.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Sorry it's not as exciting as the other things, but I promise I do have videos and student proof, so it'll be great. Okay, so FEV tutoring is a live one-on-one tutoring experience for students. At Star Elementary, we chose to focus on mathematics. It's a two-way synchronous whiteboard on how the students do their work and then the tutor does work with them. And then their main form of communication is on a little chat that they can do where they communicate back and forth. We chose, well, this is for students 3rd through 5th grade, and we chose these students by looking at our math MTSS board. We targeted the students in yellow, so kind of the ones that we're like, okay, let's get it started. We think that this tutoring program will provide the most impact for these students. Our launch date was, like Mr. Hauser said, not too long ago on September 28th, and we had 7 3rd graders, 6 4th graders, and 5 5th graders. And then now, let me just exit out of this. After conferences, now that the staff knows a little bit more about the program and I was able to share firsthand after seeing the kids in the tutoring, we had a huge jump in our enrollment. So on Monday, we'll have 17 3rd graders, 12 4th graders, and 5 5th graders, and we're opening up a morning session as well. So currently, we're just Monday, Tuesdays after school from 3:30 to 4:30, and now we will offer a morning session for those students who maybe didn't have transportation after school or vice versa. So super excited to have even more students enrolled. So it's actually been really fun to watch the students learn. None of the kids experience the same tutoring experience, which is really awesome. And they use the map data to decide where the students will begin their tutoring experience. So it is very much personalized and unique to each student. The students, as I mentioned, they have the chat box on the side. And so some of the students use the text-to-speech if reading is hard for them. And one of the kids was like, I think it's a robot. And they're like, can you listen to it? And I did. And I remember afterwards, I was like, Mr. Hauser, are you sure there's a human on the other side? Because it really does sound like a robot. And then I'm like, well, Mr. Hauser's like, no, there's a human, but it's text-to-speech. So it fooled me too. But I assured them it is a human somewhere. I don't know where, but on the other side. So when the students hop on, they get their first problem, and the tutor introduces it with some background knowledge. And then it's a gradual release model. So the tutor will show them whatever the skill is on whatever grade level and standard that they're working on. And then they do one together, and then the students have to do whatever standard they are working on that's just for them, which is really awesome. I wish the day that I took pictures and videos, they also get participation points. And the students, yeah, and they get so excited as they participate, they earn points as well. So it's very engaging and keeps them motivated to continue working. And you can see the whiteboard in the background and then the chat box on the side for this. And then I have a couple of videos that will need access, sorry about that. That would be my problem. But one of them is a student who he was struggling to use his mouse. So what he does is he does his work on a piece of paper and then shows that work on the mouse instead of that logistical, like, how do I do this? So they can really focus on what am I working on? And he's showing his work on paper and then does it on the whiteboard, which is so cool. And they were so amazed, like, the mouse is moving when the tutor is like responding, and they can hear the tutor through, well, the real robot tutor in the background. And then the other one was a student that was like totally rocking it, and she was like, I got this, and going through the whole lesson. It was a place value lesson. Maybe it might want me to like play this. So what is our goal? Growth. So that is what we do in the classroom, and then this FEV tutoring opportunity will provide growth the next time we take the MAP, or the 3rd through 5th grade students take their MAPS assessment. I am very confident that they will be showing growth, and then in their day-to-day learning. So because I'm the teacher in there, none of these students are in my home room, so their classroom teachers will be able to see their growth on their day-to-day assignments that they do. So I'm so excited. I wish I could be there to see that in their math lesson. I might have to work something out to see that. And then the last part, it was another video, which you don't have access to, and that's a bummer because it's the most adorable thing. I asked a student, what is your favorite part of tutoring? And her favorite part is that she gets a different tutor every time, which I thought was really cool. That I don't know how they're selected. I do not know that information, but she must gravitate towards certain people, and they provide feedback as they go, and it's an encouraging environment. And she said her favorite thing that she's done is multiplication. It was a 3rd grade student, so. Yes.
So if there's a way, and I don't know if there is, but if there's a way for you is to send us the video links and then on email, then we can view them after
Wonderful.
the meeting. I mean, and you can work with maybe Mrs. Simmons can help you
Awesome.
with that. So we'd really,
Sorry about that.
yeah, we'd love to see
Sorry.
that. So,
Awesome.
did you have more for us, or was that
Nope,
all?
that is
Okay.
all.
Anybody have any questions or comments? I just think this is a very cool way to help kids, innovative way, and we'll be anxious for you to come back and show us the difference that it's made. Definitely. And thank you for coming tonight. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Have a good evening. The next item is the Board of Education presentation on attendance, enrollment, and engagement, where we are now compared with the fall of 2020. Dr. Dahl.
Good evening, Board of Education, President Hinkle. It's so great to be back here and talk about more ways that we're achieving every student every day a success. And our mission couldn't be possible without its second part, which is in educating students. We teach hearts as well as minds. You might think, well, what does attendance have to do with that? Or what does enrollment have to do with that? But there are so many moving parts in our educational system and so many people that work every day to make sure our attendance rates improve. And part of my role is just to help spotlight areas where we can make those improvements. So tonight I want to celebrate some successes with you and really build on a presentation I did a year ago when in the first opening month of the first school year of the pandemic, where I had a chance to talk to you about our strong attendance that started the year and really that gave a chance to continue because we stayed on site all year, and that was such an awesome opportunity. So, with that, I just want to say it's getting harder and harder to do presentations to the Board of Education because of all the presenters that go before us. I'm really just awed, and I just have to wipe tears away, and it's just amazing. But just tonight, in a small area, I want us to focus on attendance, quarantine. Quarantine is something that we've had for 2 years, and it's kind of changed shape this year. Engagement is something that we started talking about the moment the pandemic started, we identified students as being gain plan students, and we worked on creating engagement for our students who struggled the most, and so that our staff could make inroads with those students. So that work continues today. And so I want to focus on the first 2 months, up to September 30th, being the close of the September 30th and where the October snapshot starts. I didn't want to give a couple weeks of data from October. To tell you the truth, that data has been improving, so I should have included it. And attendance here is average daily membership. Later in the year, I might focus on chronic absenteeism. And the reason for giving you a bigger one is that I know that the smaller handout, sometimes it's hard to read some of the things. So where there's a 1 on the slide, you can find the 1 on the paper as well. So opening the discussion, you can see in the blue bar for August and September that next to it's an orange bar that's a little bit smaller. And in most cases, except a little bit in August, they were similar. But that's the number of absences. So we've experienced this year less absences. And it says 37,000 a year ago and 35,000, but that's the number of days that students were absent. And so we add up every absence, and even there's partial day absences, but I wanted to include those just to be transparent. And so those are decreasing, and that's good news. That means more kids are in school, and our interventions are working. As you notice, quarantine days, we see something that's kind of the opposite. We see a lot of quarantine days, more quarantine days this year. And much more in August, and sort of that growth slows down a little bit in September. But that's interesting, and I want us just to think, quarantine increasing this year. And I just want to plant a seed. A year ago, when we were starting quarantine, we really were formulating some of the processes for quarantine, and at the same time, the pandemic was kind of changing each month quite drastically. So by the end of September, we'd experienced quite a different pandemic than we would experience in October and November. So that gives us some context. Now, next, I have some different kind of graphs, and I first want to kind of say what happens when you have a bar graph and then a line graph going through it. So there's kind of 3 different things we want to talk about here. One is the comparison of 2 different years, but then there's what's the percent growth between those years, and that's what that line shows. So you notice on the left side, absences at the O'Connor Learning Center grew by 40% this year in the number of days. So, and likewise, you notice at the middle school, where that line is the lowest, middle school absences decreased by over 50%, and that's a huge celebration. On the right side, we can see a similar kind of diagram of quarantines, and we can see that the biggest amount of quarantines was either at Early Learning Center, in terms of an increase from last year to this year, or at the high school. And both of those support a lot of the media we've seen this year. In other words, the Delta variant's been affecting children a lot more than last year COVID had. And also with the high school, we've certainly had a chance to see more need for subs in the high school this year, and that supports that more kids had quarantines. Next, I only want to talk about the top bar here. I love data, but this one's kind of a little busy, and the slide that comes after this actually portrays very similar numbers, but it just says the story a little bit better. So basically what we can see is that in terms of unique students who were quarantined, last year it was 400 students that were quarantined in the first 2 months, and this year it was 528. So we have more students quarantined. And on one hand, you can say, well, we have more quarantine days, but even if we look at the average, in other words, where it should be, our quarantines are getting shorter. So that's a good trend that we want to keep seeing happen this year. So we're going to shift for the next 2 slides just to the focus on students. Before I was just summing together all of the days, but here looking at students, we see similar information to before. In other words, a large increase of students who had quarantines at the Early Learning Center, and also a larger increase at the high school. So this student level data is very similar to the overall numbers data. And I mentioned already the subs at the high school. So I didn't give a layup for this slide, and I apologize, but this is kind of a totally different picture. So we've been talking for a little bit about our attendance and enrollment for the last 2 years. I'm sorry, for the last 2 years, but just across 2 months. And I thought, well, a lot of times we talk about how many students in our district and what's happening. So I wanted to give a 5-year picture of our enrollment across the district, because our enrollment really affects who attends, who can attend. And so as we look at this graph, and there's just sort of a lot there, but as we focus on a couple of things, the green areas, you'll see that every few years there's a bump in birth of students that results in more students for a few years, and then that kind of stops happening. And then it picks up again, perhaps after several more years, another bump in births will happen and they'll kind of follow through. So you can kind of see as you're looking at this that we're getting through one of those cycles, and after that another will start. There's perhaps a couple more things I could highlight here. They're going to come up in future slides, but I just would say it in a general sense. We have some grade levels where the picture in that grade level 5 years ago is different than it is now. It's either a little bit more or a little bit less. And I'll highlight that a little bit more easily on the next slide. So first, the layup. What's here on this slide? We're going back to this comparison last year to this year, the 2 months of data that we have. But the first, and I hate to do it, but I'm going to just walk over to the TV here. There's kind of 3 groups of 3 stories. So I want to talk about the first story. So the first story here is just about how many kids are enrolled, and it builds off that previous slide where I showed you that we have some dips in enrollment across years and then increases. So you can see in 1st grade, 4th grade, and in 12th grade that we have less students in those grades this year than we did the previous year. And certainly, you know, schools always have to account for this. They move teachers to a different grade level. A large class of students moves up, that kind of a thing. So just the story, that's the 1-year picture of something I showed you 5 years of. As we move to the next thing, we're going to start to get to really good news, stuff that really excites me. So we have to kind of, with our mind, travel horizontally and vertically at the same time. So in the middle of this page, we see some yellow shaded increases. And what they're saying is that our attendance rates in the middle school and in 10th and 11th grade of the high school increased this year in those first 2 months. They didn't increase over 2 months. They increased from the previous year. In other words, we're having a stronger start in those grades, and especially across all 3 of the middle schools, which is amazing. I want to shift us to the 3rd graph, which is our virtual students. And a little history picture. A year ago, we had 1,000 students who were virtual. Remember, 600 that were in the virtual elementary, and then 250 to 300 in middle school and high school. So this year we have 170 students in virtual. So much smaller numbers, much more focused. In the elementary, we have 1 cohort of students in each grade. But something amazing is happening there. In the elementary, you see that I didn't highlight it, but their strong attendance continues, and it continues from last year. But I want to highlight that the work of the virtual secondary school, the attendance is just rocking. They are getting attendance to happen with kids. And there's even more things about engagement that I want to get to in just a second. So last, and before we get to that engagement, I just want to give the last picture of our schools and just highlight some things. To the observing eye, the large circle there is just a green sea of green. I want to just tell you green's a good color. It's my wife's favorite color. But besides that, at the beginning of the year, there were different grade levels that had pockets of 70% attendance. In other words, the start of the year not as strong. And we did some interventions. I talked with principals and tried to find out what was going on in some of those grades, but ultimately wanted very quickly to help the schools to be able to turn the corner. And they did, because you don't see any of those 70s anymore. So those increases came. I already highlighted the increases of the middle school, so all 3 being in the 90s. Those are the percentage increases for each school. And last, as a district, we're up 0.5% from where we were a year ago. I did mention it, but the year before COVID, if we could just pause, it's hard to remember that there was a time like that, right? But if we look at the year before COVID, we've actually, as a district, experienced a lot of absences since COVID. And not only quarantine, but just across the board. And so this year, as we continue to deal with the pandemic, what we're going to be seeing is that we're going to start continuing what I've shown you now, but our attendance is going to just increase and increase and increase, because the impacts of this pandemic, while they are severe, we're on the 2nd year, we're not on the 1st. And so, you know, I'm praying, but I think we're going to just see improvements. And I want to encourage that mid-year I might come back to the Board of Education Committee and just give some updates on attendance and enrollment. Last topic is engagement. I mentioned it earlier. It's something that we created when we started virtual schools altogether. So Miss Whitney Flower at the virtual elementary, she's been tracking engagement ever since last year, beginning of last year. And immediately when she started, she was in the 70% of students that could meet or exceed targets. And she said, I want 80% or more. And so she worked, and after several weeks, she got it up to 80%, and she kept it there. Finished the year in the mid 80%. So this year she's at 84%. But I looked at the data yesterday just because I wanted to see, well, what's happening, and she's actually at 86%. So she's keeping the ball rolling. And an interesting thing about virtual elementary, no one is shifting. All of those students who joined, they are fully engaged, and the teachers are fully engaged, and it's exciting to see. So, and I look forward to doing more engagement with them myself. Last, I want to focus on virtual secondary. I mentioned the great improvements on attendance. You can't teach students who aren't here, but let me correct myself. That amazing presentation right before me about FEV tutoring, that's something that I just wonder, how could we leverage that more? It's great that we're using it in so many schools. But so as the virtual secondary, they've just started using engagement this year, actually about 4 weeks ago. And so they're in the mid-70s, which is kind of a common starting place, but they'll be increasing that during the year. I have to close on a high note. So the table that's on the right side of the screen here is in the first column showing the number of students at virtual secondary, and remember she has about 100 students, the number of students who went from off track to on track. So 20 students, 18 students. And so August, September, and October, and you can see that she's maintaining numbers of students that she's pulling back on track, getting them to catch up with previous classes that they might have missed. And I would add, a number of students who have chosen virtual secondary might have done so with previous educational gaps that they didn't know how the district could support them. And we found a way, and we found a hero through virtual secondary school and the work of Dr. Bailey. So I've kind of been going a little bit faster tonight than I usually talk, but I think possibly that's to all of our benefit in all the celebrations we've had tonight. Are there any questions from the board?
Anybody have any questions? Ms. Wolf?
It's not a question, but you know how much I appreciate printing front and back, so thank you.
Happy to.
Any other questions or comments? This is great information, and it is something to celebrate. We appreciate you taking the time to share it with us tonight.
Happy to. Thank you, President Hinkle. And chronic absenteeism. Oh, please.
Hi, so one of my big things are attendance, because I was virtual at the beginning of high school, and that was a little hard for me to get involved and feel involved in school. So then coming back, and I had friends on virtual, and I was trying to encourage them to continue, but I know it's hard. And I know you said you spoke to the principals and you came up with plans, and I just wanted to know what were those plans, or what did you guys discuss?
So do you mean during the summer before virtual secondary school was started?
Just anywhere where you needed more kids in the building or on virtual.
I don't know if I'm answering this question correctly, but I'll try. During the summer, we were just thinking there are a number of students that we already know the parents have said they won't be coming back. In other words, I think, as you're saying, you came back, but we knew they weren't, and we just thought, what's the district system? And we knew with Miss Whitney Flower in K through 5 that we had a strong system and a vision for virtual elementary school last year, and it just went strong and it continues. Even though the numbers of students have changed. And so we wanted to really organize and have that be one system, not separate middle schools and separate systems, so to speak, but uniting the whole front. And Dr. Bailey actually came up with the idea of 6 through 12, bringing them together under one administration, and that way the teachers could share with each other and really keep students on the college and career pathways. That was kind of the thinking that was in a lot of our discussions. And we worked with an outside education partner to help bring some shape to that. Does that answer what you're asking?
And was your question also about, you said that at the start of the school, the high school attendance wasn't real high. There were some that were in the 70s, but you had discussions to bring those up. Is that what?
Yeah, that too, the 70%.
That was you notice there was 170 on that graph. That was 12X, which is students who are in a 13th year of school. But actually, the high school didn't start in the 70s. When I was mentioning that, it was actually a couple of the elementary schools.
Yes.
A first grade here, a fourth grade there. It was some of those things. And so I reached out, thank you for catching that. I reached out to those elementary principals and just asked them, what can we do to support, and are you aware of this? And so they made connections with parents, and really teachers did extra work to make sure students were engaged when they were able to come back.
Sorry, cut you off, but that makes me really happy, just because I know like elementary is such an important thing for students, and falling behind is just an easy thing to do, and that makes me really happy.
Good. It's our job. We're happy to support.
Did you have something? Dr. Grover?
Well, one of the things I was going to add about the virtual school and on-site, I think Dr. Dexter and Dr. Dahl can attest to this, is making sure that the students are in the right placement. And so part of it is working alongside the principal and the teacher, making sure that they can be successful in virtual. So some of it was just parent consultation saying, no, you need to be back because the virtual is not working, or because you're not coming, maybe virtual is another place. So those one-on-one conversations, and just kudos to Dr. Bailey. She really volunteered to take this on with the secondary virtual school, and just the way she's building relationships, I think is truly making a difference.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right, Agenda 7 is the request to address the board, and I don't think we have any requests, so we can move on. And I don't think we need a recess or reconvene. We'll just keep moving along if everybody's okay with that. So we will move to information items, and 10.1 is the Grand Island Education Association. Michelle Carter.
All right, I don't usually have to come up here. Usually I just stay sitting back there. Anyway, yes, this is an annual thing from the Education Association. You will notice that this is the request to be recognized for the bargaining unit for 2023-2024. We always do this 2 years ahead. So we're the bargaining unit for this year, for next year, and we're requesting for the 2023-2024 school year. So it's kind of a formality, and it'll be an action item next month. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't think, and you're right, it is something we do every year, so I don't think there probably are a lot of questions, but we appreciate you coming here tonight.
That's fine.
And just want to say that was very special how they honored your daughter tonight.
Yeah, we were very touched, and it's just been a special group all the way through, so.
That is
yes.
very, very
Thank
sweet.
you.
Thank you. All right, 10.2 is the 21-22 calendar revisions. Dr. Dexter.
So we had taken September 24th as a mental health day, which was much appreciated by staff. And we truly appreciate the ability to do that. Staff was just giddy that just that unexpected day where they could just refresh and rest. So we would like to, we are requesting that we take November 22nd and 23rd, and that is the Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving break. We currently already have the 24th, 25th, and 26th for teachers and students to have off. And so we're asking for the additional Monday and Tuesday, November 22nd and 23rd, as a mental health day, a rest and refresh. And we did this last year, and last year, our COVID rates had really spiked, and we just felt like it was a good time to let staff, again, rest and refresh. This year, we're still working with the sub shortage, and our staff are just burning the candle at both ends and taking care of each other. And we would just like to honor the need for mental health for staff and students. And so we were asking for the 22nd and 23rd, and this will be an information and action item.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Are you okay with this, Isabella?
Yes, I can say the students are really happy. I went around the classroom one day when I had an extra 10 minutes in class, and I asked them, did you like the mental health day? And they all said yes, and I think this is such a big focus, not only for teachers, but for students too. I know teachers and students work together a lot, and I think seeing this makes me really excited because I know this is one of the things that's been on the agenda for students for several years now, and I think putting a plan in action and putting more thought and effort into it is really it's a good start.
Okay, appreciate the feedback.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let me get back here. All right, 10.3 is the Voluntary Early Retirement Incentive Program, or VRIP. Dr. Schroeder.
Good evening, folks. The Facilities and Finance Committee proposed offering a VRIP during the upcoming school year. And so we've given that much thought, much consideration. We've done our due diligence with legal counsel, but at this time, I'm going to recommend that we don't pursue that going forward. After discussing the possibility of the VRIP with the F&F Committee, Superintendent, and Director of Human Resources, the timing for such an initiative doesn't seem right. The school district's currently having difficulty filling all of its current teaching vacancies, and running a VRIP during the current school year may further exacerbate that problem. And so with the uncertainty of the pandemic and the labor market in 2022, we don't want to encourage some of our best, brightest, and most seasoned teachers to leave the school district. So that would be my formal recommendation to the board, is to hold off on doing that. Okay. Do you have any questions I can answer regarding that recommendation?
Any questions or comments? Anybody from the Facility and Finance Committee want to say anything? Mr. Brown?
Yes, that's what we talked about. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, that is, we did have some dialogue on this, yes.
I get it now.
Yes, sorry for the clarity. It was just a bigger discussion, and we came back to it's just probably not the right time. It seemed like the right time when we started the process, and just things have not, it's just kind of went the other direction for labor shortages, so.
All right,
That's all I
thank
have
you.
to say about that.
I know we can always count on you.
And I'm sure he'll remind us at his committee report, OFNF.
All right. Anything else you need from us? Oh, are you the next?
I'm just going to stick
Okay,
around for
sorry.
a while.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you could.
You'll be
okay.
sick of me by the end of the night.
All right. So 10.4 is the addendum to the 21-22 master agreement between the Grand Island Education Association and the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education. Dr. Schroeder.
Yeah. I was approached by some board members. The Grand Island Board of Education, which wishes to recognize the extra efforts Grand Island Public School teachers are making during the pandemic. Teachers are being called on to cover combined classes due to the shortage of substitute teachers in the school district. And so the Grand Island Board of Education has proposed amending the 21-22 master agreement to allow teachers at the elementary level who are assigned students from another class and exceeding a total of 32 elementary students or 36 middle school or high school students to receive additional compensation for doing so. And so I approached the GIEA on behalf of the board. Attached to this agenda item is their letter signifying their agreement to this addendum to the master agreement. And just one more way that our Board of Education is supporting our teachers this year and during the pandemic. Any questions that I can answer for you or comments regarding this?
Any questions? Ms. Wolf.
Does this include coverage when an individual is covering during their plan period?
Yeah, they get compensated
Okay.
for coverage during their plan period, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that was already, though, in the contract. So
That
this
was
is in
place.
addition.
This provision actually sunsetted last year, and we discovered it when we were having a pandemic team meeting with our building level leadership, which is something we started this year, and one of the principals asked about it, and we started to talk about it, and that's when we realized that the provision had sunset, and so there was a lot of energy around bringing it back.
Yeah, I think the year we tried it, we didn't have to use it very much. I mean, it was like we tried it a year too soon, because then with COVID, it would have been very beneficial, so.
You're 100% right, and that's what GIA leadership said. They
Yeah.
said, we really weren't concerned about it when we negotiated last year, and I checked with Stephanie Tomjack in payroll, and she said, didn't have one single claim last year, but this year, it's happening.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So I'm glad we could find a way to work that back in, so.
You bet.
All right, any other questions or comments? Nope. All right, so 10.5 is the pay increase for substitute nutrition services personnel, Dr. Schroeder and Mrs. Spellman, but it looks like she's not here, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But Ms. Spellman's letter is attached to this agenda item, which makes the request. When we did our classified pay increase earlier this year, we overlooked our substitutes in nutrition services. And so Ms. Spellman, being Mrs. Spellman, always looking out for her staff, she approached me about approaching you and offering the idea of giving those substitute nutrition service workers a little bit of a bump too. So we went back and did some math. If we had the same amount of substitutions that we have had in years past, we think that the increased cost to the district would be about $1,300. That would be paid from the school nutrition fund, or fund number 6. And so a copy of that written request is attached. It would affect about 5 staff members. It's an information item this month, and what Ms. Spellman and I would like to see is you take action on it next month, and then in December, Merry Christmas. It would go into effect. So are there any questions or comments that I can answer regarding that proposal?
Anybody have any questions? It seems just more than right, so I'm glad.
It does. They're important to the successful operation of our program, and I think it would go a long way in recognizing that.
All right, thank you. So 10.6, the ESSER 3 funds update, Dr. Schroeder and Dr. Dexter.
All right, well, we're here to give you an update on ESSER 3. It's hard to believe we've gone through ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and now ESSER 3. And Dr. Schroeder's just been great to work with and so organized. And so we just want to share the processes that we've gone through.
Yeah, so first we're going to start with a disclaimer, just so that everybody knows. There is a rumor circulating that we were required to mask students and staff in order to qualify for these funds. And so since this is a public forum, we want to take the opportunity to publicly decry, right, that rumor. We had to have a safe return to school plan, which Corey shared with you in previous months, but that was not a requirement of ESSER 3. So just so everybody knows that. So the process that we worked through, Dr. Dexter, administrative cabinet team members, Mr. Petch, we worked in small group to determine possible uses of the ESSER funds, and we had a bunch of them that came up, right? I mean, a laundry list. And then goals and priorities for the use of ESSER 3 funds were developed based on the district's strategic plan, stakeholder feedback, and the immediate needs of Grand Island Public Schools students and staff. We took a look at the master facility plan and the stakeholder feedback that was provided into the production of that. And then we surveyed stakeholders, and Mr. Dahl was instrumental in doing that regarding how we should use the funds. That was another requirement of ESSER 3, was to survey stakeholders. And so we got some good data from that. Capital improvements utilizing the funds were proposed to the Facilities and Finance Committee. We've shared the work that we've done with CMBA, Mr. Petch and I, and we believe that those align to the district's plan. So we submitted that ESSER 3 grant application on September 15th, and they are backed up over there at NDE, so we are still awaiting official approval. You can see there the results of the ESSER 3 survey that Dr. Dahl helped us conduct. There was strong support for resources and materials, facility improvements, and training. And there was a lower level of support for items including hiring and focusing on equity work. So Dr. Grover sat us down one day and she said, you know, we have some immediate needs in the district regarding facilities. I'd like for you and Mr. Petch to address those, and I'd like for the small group to consider using about half of the total $18 million in allocation for that purpose. And so we set to work on that, and Dr. Dexter and I sort of divided and conquered. And that's the way we're going to proceed with the ESSER 3 grant. I'm going to take oversight in conjunction with Mr. Petch for those capital improvement projects, building projects, technology projects throughout the district with Mr. Gearhart's help. And then on the student services side, Dr. Dexter is going to take responsibility for those along with Chris Schneider, Dr. Schneider. And so that you can see the breakdown of the total amount of money in the areas that it's going to be spent in. So, as I said before, we tried to align those projects to stakeholder feedback and district goals. Those were identified as safety and security, additional dining and common spaces, HVAC improvements, classroom spaces for skills programming and special education students, additional supports to space to support fine arts and extracurricular activities. And so that's what primarily the building projects address. You can see there an itemized list and the approximate cost of each of those projects at their school building or by their site. And again, this was developed in conjunction with the work that Dan Petch and I did with CMBA Architects.
So we broke it down into teaching and classroom, engagement, facility, safety and access, equity, and technology. So you see with the teaching classroom, high quality materials, and we continue to make sure that we have the resources we need to support learning. To promote college and career ready, AP dual credit courses, teachers needing certifications. And this has always been kind of a worry that we have really good AP dual credit teachers, but they require some extra certifications and training. And so we want to make sure that we're ready to support that. And then our summer and after school learning opportunities, we're really getting cranked up to implement some more of those, and we'll use the funds to do that. Equitable parent outreach, a family liaison, our Arabic and Somali families, we really struggle to have a person who can help us communicate and go out and recruit families, and so we're excited to have that position. And then we added transportation routes, and we added another route on the west side of 281. We had some kids out there, about 15, came to Mr. Hubbard and said, can we get a bus to the high school? And so we did. And we also had a struggle with our shuttle buses taking kids from the high school to academies and then back to band and then back to music. And we had administrators driving buses, and that just wasn't working. So we added a specific shuttle route for our academies. Again, we keep a supply of PPEs and cleaning supplies. And then the improvements, including HVAC, security, and enlarged band areas, were part of the facilities. Equity, mental health teletherapy for students. Dr. Grover had hooked me up with this company, EMC, Enable My Child, and they are international. And so they have opportunities to have therapists to do teletherapy for mental health. And they have all languages that I've never even heard of. But I meet with them tomorrow to really spell out what they can provide for us. We had a team of social workers and counselors who met with them as well, because I thought, teletherapy, really? I don't know. But they were all for it. They said, yeah, people really do well with mental health teletherapy. And so we're going to get started on that. And we plan to do the rest of this school year and next school year, then reevaluate to see if we want to go on to the next year. The other piece of that, we have great mental health providers as partners, but we have a waiting list still. And so we want to make sure that we honor using our community providers first, and then make use of the teletherapy. And then equity training and professional learning to support the strategic plan. We have an awesome plan. We're really looking to, how do we implement it? How do we implement with fidelity, and how do we monitor that? And then our technology updates, devices, hardware, and infrastructure. And when we talk about the fine arts, we put a significant amount of money into equipment and then expanding the spaces. But Dr. Lee has just been awesome, did an audit of all the different equipment, and we have literally patched and repaired and patched and repaired so that about 3/4 of our instruments just can't take one more patch. So we're looking at really beefing that up and buying some curriculum materials, and so that we're aligned K-12. So really excited about that. And then we also will have put some money in for the intramurals. We met today, awesome meeting. Mrs. Albers was part of that meeting. But just what's our priority? And this group, within about an hour and a half, came to, we've got to do something to support 3 through 8, kids in grades 3 through 8. If we're going to get kids hooked into activities, we've got to put the focus there. So we have some money for after school and summer programs, transportation, and also to hire a coordinator to make all that work. So that's exciting, and they were very appreciative of that.
All right, so we'll be adding those building projects to the master facility plan. Just one key point is that this money has to be spent by 2024. And so we just want to assure the board, we put the best plan we could together to utilize these ESSER 3 resources, but we can always go in and amend that application to meet the needs. Dr. Schneider probably won't like us doing that because that's a lot of extra work, but we think we have a good plan to meet the needs of the students, staff, and we can adjust that plan as needed. So we appreciate your support and we appreciate you listening.
And we will do action later tonight.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for all of the hard work to figure out how to spend money, which is a nice. Did you, Mrs. Jurgens?
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. If
No,
that's
okay.
Fine.
Go ahead.
I was just curious about the mental health teletherapy. How do we plan to communicate that to the students that will become available?
That's when I meet tomorrow. I have a communication plan to roll it out. We did put money in to have a person that can organize all of this, because finding a space in the schools is probably the toughest part. And then just making the connections with students, getting permission from parents.
Right.
So we'll get that out there and move forward. High school, our wellness center has a huge waiting list right now. So we know there's a need.
Well, and that kind of leads into my second question, because I'm curious if it will just be one-on-one or if there might be any group opportunities for our students.
There can be small group, one-on-one, and they can also do parent-family.
Oh, fantastic.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
I read about them. They've been very successful, and give it a try.
Thank you so much.
Great question, thank you. Anybody else? Did I miss? All right. We will move on to 10.7, which is the construction update. Mr. Petch.
Thanks, Mrs. Hinkle. We with the ESSER 3, we're going to try to do projects at approximately 10 of our sites. We're focusing on some of our larger projects right now, just making some plans and kind of getting the ball rolling. So, gonna be pretty busy getting that ready. Also finishing off the design on the medical pathways design piece. So as I mentioned before, we'll have that ready, but we will have to tap the brakes until we for sure have funding for that. So keep your fingers crossed that we can move that forward here, later on, potentially this summer kind of thing. So that's what I have for you right now. Keep it short and sweet, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions? All right, well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, so 10.8 is our student representative report.
I'll start off with athletics. So the varsity boys won their last home game last Friday. During the football game, the king and queen were crowned. Girls wrestling features about 40 committed wrestlers that will soon practice this upcoming winter. A total of 62 attended the first meeting, and which is one of the biggest numbers in the state.
Wow.
I know, I was surprised too. Girls golf finished at Girls golf finished as state golf. Volleyball has a winning streak of 9 straight, which is a lot of improvement from the last seasons. And Miss Wills reported that the girls are very excited about possibility of more wins throughout the season. Cross country state districts are next week at Kearney, and there's lots of optimism about placing. State tennis was held today in Omaha. Most excitingly, boys and girls unified bowling at West Lanes is about to open up, and there's a lot of excitement about that too. Activities. Mary Poppins is quickly approaching, and students are working hard to put on a good show. After speaking of one of the main characters, they described the feeling of excitement and described more of the behind the scenes of it. Islanders had a successful Hollywood-themed homecoming. Leading up into the week, Spirit Week was held. Student Council asked for donations from surrounding organizations, which awarded the most spirited students throughout the week in efforts to improve school spirit. Students reported having one of the best homecomings yet. The Student Council received lots of compliments throughout the night. A quote from a student reads, "I like the thoughtful and innovative decorations that made me feel welcome and special. The video and photographer people really made me feel like a Hollywood superstar." To add to that, we had the red carpet walking down alongside the paparazzi capturing their movement as they walked into the building. The Hollywood sign was made and hung up to really add to the effect. Photographers were also on site next to the backdrops throughout the night to capture the moment. Mr. Gilbertson added that in his tenure, this was the most students present at homecoming and the most that participated in Spirit Week. Unity Council met with staff of YWCA and spoke about being very excited that students are involved in such movements and activism around the school. They described a potential program where 7th grade students of color would have a mentor in high school, so they would have a foundation there. A mentoring process with a 2-year span to create positive relationships while honoring, reflecting, and understanding what comes with healing from cultural and social experiences. This is one of those essential years where the Unity Council hopes to roll out their plans and ideas. The Superintendent Student Advisory Council received an email addressing a student's concern. The letter read, a proposed idea of adding Performing Arts Hall of Fame for these students. The council members are focused on awareness and support for the fine arts this school year. They discuss how our school can create a more welcoming and honoring environment for our art kids. The SSAC plans to formally respond to the student next week. The council also came into school today to make posters to welcome our students back, especially those in theater, band, and fine arts, as we see a need for more promotion for those kids. In order to form a more welcoming forum for students to reach out to members, we had videos playing at the football game to encourage students to speak about any concerns or positive highlights throughout their school year. The National Honor Society, me being a part of it, I and another officer developed the idea to create a group project within the members. After realizing for a need for more integration for newcomers, officers have designed a project to sit in class with a newcomer after having been paired with a questionnaire of common interests. This is one of the many steps to unite students together and create a positive high school experience for each and every student. A student perspective. After quickly surveying students it's safe to say that all the students appreciated this mental health day. They would love to see much more mental health days added to the calendar. This is one of the most pressing issues for students that we see. And they hope that we have a more clear distinction of how and why the district decided to so abruptly add to a mental health day. Another very interesting thing I noticed is that students feel that the arts don't receive the recognition they deserve. With working to build up the school spirit and togetherness, I hope to eliminate this by coming up with a Hall of Fame for these kids and featuring dollars for the arts as the students proposed. Another student perspective, which is a more positive side, is Miss Soundy. I met with her about job shadowing opportunities, and she reports that students have come into her office eager to start job shadowing and create an experience outside the classroom. Today, I had the chance to go to the Crane Trust, where I was able to plant the Perry as I picked goldenrod and viewed bison up close. And that concludes my report, and I am open to questions. Sorry.
That's a lot of information there, but thank you. it's exciting to hear that. So you mentioned the mentorships and that possibility. So your class is the first one to go through all 4 years of the academy, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I guess I was just like, one of the goals we were trying to get with the academies was to make a smaller school within a school, large school, and make sure that everybody had a connection. Do you feel like that's being achieved, or is there more work for us to do?
I think there's always more work to be done, but it's a good start. And one of the things that comes with that is kind of being separated from other students. And I think that just comes within a little issue. But there is definitely, I have classes with the same students, and I have built a relationship with some of these students that personally have come to me with concerns. So that makes me feel there is a good thing going on there. But I do maybe would like to see more of a togetherness within the whole school and the whole academies, because I think there's a little distinction.
Okay. But it was exciting to hear that there was such high participation for the homecoming week
Yeah.
and spirit week. That's
Yes.
exciting. And I wonder if that has to do with the fact that last year a lot of that didn't get to happen. Maybe it's a newfound appreciation.
Yes. Mr. Giberson said that everyone was good, dressed up appropriately, no issues with that. We had, I think, if I remember, I want to say 17 students got an award, like a gift card from an outside restaurant to commemorate them for the participation.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Helinski? Oh, you don't want, okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. We will move on to 10.9, which is our superintendent report. Dr. Grover.
Okay, great. And I will say, the school spirit at the high school is just at an all-time high or whatever. If you attended the games, the student sections, and Mr. Giberson is talking about it, as well as the fine arts, and you could hear it from the students that came in for Mary Poppins tonight. Their voice and their advocacy is so much stronger right now, and we are thoroughly enjoying it. As Isabella mentioned, receiving that letter from the students asking us to give more attention to fine arts. It was so well written. They had their points down. I actually received a letter from a 7th grader at Westridge. They were stating their case on the calendar changes, although we were not able to honor their request, but yet their details, their responsiveness, I'm just so proud of the student voice that's being elevated in Grand Island Public Schools. So thank you, Isabella, for your leadership. So for our report tonight, I do have a couple of reports. I'm going to ask Mr. Gehart, are you available to come out? He's going to give us a pandemic update, and then Kristen Irie, she's going to give an update on substitutes, and then I'll come back after that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Just a real, actually short update for this month, but so I'll get started. If you remember last month when we looked at this map, there was a big hole right in the middle. I'm glad to say that that's not the case anymore. So we have a little better access to some information, and that's been very positive for helping us as we look at how things have been going over the last month. This is the same graph that I showed last week comparing Nebraska to Hall County to Louisiana. You'll see a little bit of changes, but Hall County is the orange line again. Nebraska's the blue. Louisiana's coming down. You'll notice that they peaked a while ago. We're still not sure what we're calling what happened with the blue line there a couple of weeks ago, whether or not we peaked or not, and you'll see why here in just a second as we look at a little more local information. Again, looking at vaccination rates, fully vaccinated in Hall County and the Cdhd area compared to the state. Still, Hall is a little bit short. We're right under 40%, where if you look at Nebraska as a whole, we're right around 50. So hope to see that continue to increase in the future. The Cdhd data, so pulled this off of their dashboard today. The 205 case count, if you remember about a month ago when I did this report, that was only at 215. So we've come down just a little bit, but what you're going to see is what happened in the middle of all that. We jumped up, we came back down. Positivity rate's still been hovering right in that 35 to 40%. So we're still pretty high. We're still under testing, and unfortunately now we're kind of back into a cycle. It seems like we get good testing, turnaround time for a period of time, and then it kind of lags. There's some backlog, and then we get back into that. We're in the 4 to 6 day range for some of the PCR tests right now. 261 cases per 100,000, that's that measure that we use based on the CDC's substantial transmission threshold, which GIPS's safe return is at 50. And we'll notice, unfortunately, the Tri-County has had three deaths due to COVID in the last 7 days. Hospitalizations, this goes all the way back to fall of last year, the big blue hospitalization for the Tri-County. So this is all hospitals in the Cdhd area that are taking COVID patients. Today we're actually at 24 patients, 4 of them on vents. This doesn't show, remember though, any patients that are Hall County or Hamilton or Merrick that are transferred out to the tertiary facilities. So, I don't know if my laser, nope, doesn't work over there. That 230 range that we saw about a month ago, we hit all the way up to 496 in Hall County. So these are Hall County specific numbers. So we peaked about the time that we thought that we would. Turn the corner, we're starting to come down, but now we're kind of entering a phase that the epidemiologists in Lincoln and Omaha are calling our slow burn because of our low vaccination rates. So it's really, we're not sure what's going to happen, if it's going to continue to drop off. If it stays linear like it looks like it is from about the 6th point there, the 272, and continues to go down, it looks like we got another 40 days or so of this before we get back to where our threshold is. But that's a prediction, and it's based on that continuing in that same direction. The predictions are always wrong, so that's just Corey's opinion right now at that point. This is kind of follows the same trend. These are the positives inside GIPS. So this is students and staff that we know are positive, and they're cumulative for each week. So that's the week starting on Sunday for those dates. And you'll see it really does just follow the curve that we saw for Hall County in general. The October 10th, obviously the week isn't over, but we don't have students for the next, we didn't have today and tomorrow, so we might not see any additional cases. So that might look artificially low going into next week as it starts the next week count, but it does follow the pattern that we're seeing. And then here's just the numbers to show you. 10 cases in the last 7 days. Total cases year to date, 272. That average cases per day, that was up to 6.7 last month. So we're seeing that decline, which again, all the data points in that direction. Last year it was in that 3 to like 3.2 range. So, and then this is just illnesses or absences. So if we look at students who have either an illness, a med, or a Q code, they're included on the line there, and that's a snapshot at the last day of each week. And then if you look at the bar, that's all the staff absences for those same dates. So kind of holding steady. And
is that staff data all staff or just certified teachers?
All staff.
Okay, thank you.
And then just mentioning again our layered protection strategies. One of the things, and I apologize, I was going to put it in here, was our vaccination rates. Currently, overall as a district, I've got it broken out, unfortunately, by certified, classified, and administrators. Our administrative staff are at 87% vaccinated, certified staff are at 73%, and then our classified staff are at 60%. So holding pretty steady. We did have a bump after last board meeting, but it lasted about a week to 10 days, and then it's kind of trailed off again. So those are the numbers.
And I think you answered my question that I had before you even started. Was I noticed that like in Lincoln, their risk dial is down into the orange, almost to the yellow now, and I was but ours continues to stay really high, but I understand their vaccination rate is much higher, and so that's why they're seeing the decrease, but we're continuing to see that level off and see it high.
Yeah, so the vaccination rate's one component to that. Actually, if we look at the data, unfortunately, today and yesterday, the decline that they were seeing has paused and even inverted a little bit. So it was looking very promising and very positive that they were rapidly going down. The hospitalizations were going down for folks in Lancaster. That's actually started to reverse a little bit, and they're seeing a bounce there. And that might just be timing, because when you have positive cases, then 3 weeks later you have hospitalizations, and then so there is a bit of a lag there. But yeah, what I'm hearing from them is that they are attributing that to vaccination rates.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions, other questions? Appreciate all your work again.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Grover. My name is Kristen Irie. I'm the Chief of Human Capital. And you probably know me at this point because I've been all over the news, I've been in the paper, I've been on the radio, out there stumping for subs, trying to deal with the shortage that we're experiencing, but obviously the nation is experiencing. But I am so excited to let everyone know that we put out the call and the community answered. We have been able to add to our substitute pool. We officially have 10, but there's one pending, so I'm going for 11. So we went from 97 active substitutes to 116. That breaks down with that 11 as brand new to the GIPS pool, but also we were able to re-engage 8 that we reached out to. I have to give full credit to Molly Holcher, who is the substitute whisperer in HR. She reached out and they responded, and Brian Court was very instrumental in helping coordinate, especially having the relationships of coming from admin, being a teacher, and they did a wonderful job. So I will not take that credit, that is on them. That's on my staff, who were amazing. So we have 116 up from 97. So we're still working at it, we're not done, but that's where we are. Can I answer any questions? So we started right after the last board meeting, because that's the numbers I have. We were about 78%. So if this week holds and tomorrow does not tank us, we're almost at 90.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had one day where Molly was like gambling, like, okay, I don't have anybody calling out, I don't have anybody calling. I got one that's not filled. She's like so mad because there was one on one day, almost a perfect rate. But we're creeping back up there because we're actively engaging our subs as much as we can. We're providing whatever support we can for the teachers to try to lower the absenteeism, but we're also engaging our sub pool.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good news.
Quick question for you, I'm sorry.
No, please.
You said that there's somebody reaching out to their former teachers, or are they people just that they can sub, or
Everybody who was on the sub list, because we actually had almost 200 people on the sub list. It had not been updated. We hadn't addressed it. People moved away. People went to different districts. Different things have happened. So actively, we only had about 97 who had subbed in the past year up until current. And then this year, then for this year. So last year, our numbers were over 150, but we lost a lot of those people, but they were still kind of hanging out in our pool. So Molly called almost 200 people to say, hey, we still have these opportunities. Are you interested? Some people are like, yes, I'm ready to come back. We'll do that. Others are like, I moved, or whatever it was. So it took that outreach to our pool directly. She also made some calls for some people that, had recently retired who expressed interest earlier. We followed up. We got a great response. Anybody in the district who said, hey, I'm interested for subbing and talking to an employee who works here, they were sent to HR. Like, here's the email, here's the phone number. It didn't hit the pile. We called. We got emails of people who just said, I was just kind of getting more information. No problem. Hopped on the phone. So it was that active involvement, getting that engagement, reaching out to everybody we could.
Okay, well, thank you for your hard work with that. I mean, it's unprecedented times. I even threw my hat in the ring, unfortunately. Due to the board, I can't do it. But thank you for the hard work on that, because I know you're not where you want to be, but it's a problem, and I know you guys are working hard, so thank you for that.
Thank you. We've got the numbers. I'm so excited. So thank you.
Okay, then lastly, just an update on the board engagement. You'll probably hear some of this in your committee report, but one I just want to draw your attention to. We are looking at reinstituting campus visits for our board members. And what we like to do in talking with the PRPD committee is have you join our Tuesday walks. And so that's fascinating. We're excited about it. And we're going to start on October the 26th. So you can just go ahead and mark it. We usually get started around 8:30, I believe. And we have a schedule, and we will get that schedule out to you. But if you just mark your calendars, we know that you're excited about it. I already see Maureen is kind of nodding her head. And so they will be expecting us. So hopefully you'll be able to fit that into your calendar. We'll have you on a rotating schedule, but you can join along with us. Thank you in advance for all of your efforts. And we do have other engagement opportunities that we'll be talking to you about in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move to action items. The first one is 11.1, the calendar revisions. Dr. Dexter, and we heard about this earlier. Anything else you need to share with us?
No, just.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Mr. Barsanis.
I make a motion to approve the revisions to the 2021-2022 calendar as presented.
And is there a second? Second. I think I heard Mr. Brown first, sorry. Any discussion? Please vote. Okay, motion, yep, motion passed, thank you. 11.2 then is the addendum to the 21-22 master agreement between the Grand Island Education Association and the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education. Dr. Schroeder, anything else you want to bring forward?
Nothing else to add. The board supports it and the GIEA supports it. This is an easy one.
Yeah, any questions? Mr. Barsanis.
Make a motion to approve the addendum to the 2021-22 master agreement between the Grand Island Education Association and the Grand Island Board of Education.
Is there a second? Second, Ms. Wolf. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Thank you. 11.3 is the memo of understanding between YWCA and GIPS. Dr. Dexter. And
Ms. Richards. She's just been so instrumental in pulling this together, and we are looking forward to a January 4th start, and we'll be looking at 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I know that Amy Bennett at the YWCA is working very closely to get schedules working and parents contacted. So we're just so excited, and so we just need final approval of the MOU. Also to include that the signage for YWCA would be a 6x5 that would go in the outside entrance, and so that's been shared.
This is an exciting opportunity. Anybody have any questions? Okay, Mrs. Jurgens.
I was going to make a motion to approve. So
I
if there
think
are
that's okay. I don't
questions-
think anybody had any questions, so you can go ahead.
Okay. Motion to approve the MOU between GIPS and the YWCA as presented.
And is there a second? Second. Second, Mrs. Albers. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Awesome. All right, 11.4 is the ESSER 3 funds update. Dr. Schroeder and Dr. Dexter, and we heard about this earlier. Anything that you wanted to add that you forgot to add? Okay, anybody think of any questions between now and then? Did you have a question? Mrs. Albers?
Motion to approve expenditures for ESSER 3 funds as presented.
And is there a second? Second, Mr. Hawley. Any discussion? Did you have a question? No. Okay, okay. Please vote.
My light's on? Sorry.
So please vote. That's okay. Don't worry about it. That's all right. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, we will move on to the committee reports. 12.1 is the Finance and Facilities Committee. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. I'll be reporting from our minutes from October 5th. We had a request for proposals. We just had 2 of them, one for asbestos abatement and surplus bus sales. We had an update from the information technologist. Mr. Gerhart reported on the E-rates that he's working on. Got an update from Spellman on nutrition services. As we already approved the substitute pay increase. Let's see. Nope. Did I mention that we had talked about VRIP? Yeah, I did. We did talk about that. Reviewed the depreciation special building funds, cash flow and payroll. Also had an update on the federal funds. We did have a discussion with Chad Navity, who is the regional planning director, also the CRA director, about TIF, and had I would say, 45-minute discussion on TIF, and basically a little history from him about how many projects. So in Grand Island, we've had 78 approved TIF projects. 49 of them include residential development. So that's what we drew to his attention. So we got a lot of information, and basically, I think the goal here is just to basically look at the impact to the district. There's a formula that he uses, and we just hope to get more information to him, maybe get that modified. But it is really the only incentive for the city for developers, so it's going to be here and it will be used. I don't know what the limit is. I asked, and I don't think there is. So stay tuned to the TIF channel as it moves forward. Let's see. We did have an update that we heard this evening on the COVID relief funding with the last part here for spending. We had an initial capacity report for all buildings, and it's not done. The data didn't look quite right, so that'll be hopefully something that will get finalized. We had the sound system audit for all sound systems in all buildings that's going on. That'll be interesting to see the fruition on upgrades that need to be done. We did talk about the addendum to the master agreement, which we just approved. Let's see. We did, we had the beginnings of the annual audit. That's always the fun and exciting audit to hopefully read the entire document when it gets here. Can't wait. Or the summary, which is what I'll do. We did get the project update on the ESSER 3 buildings that are on the list for funding. And with that, I conclude my report. Our next meeting will be November 2nd at 7:30.
All right, thank you very much. Leading for Learning Committee, Ms. Wolf.
You get me for 2 months. So I'll start with September. We'll do some time travel. At that time, Mr. Phillips presented an update on enrollment in each academy and fall dual credit enrollment in Wayne State and CCC courses. He also shared information about the Insight on-site visit and the National Career Academy Leadership Training occurring the last week in September, which already happened. We had information presented on an update on the spring NSCATS and ACT data that will be published on the NEP website. At this time, that data is embargoed to the public until its release. NDE is transitioning into the new NSCATS assessment this year. Dr. Palmer described a current book study that's happening with L4L members, GIST teachers, and principals with the book This is Disciplinary Literacy. The purpose is to deepen understanding of the definition of literacy and how it is fostered and embedded in classroom instruction across all disciplines. This will influence continuous improvement practices. And we've already heard about this, but Dr. Grover discussed substitutes and an update on vaccination numbers. L4L is doing a book study as well, and we discussed Chapter 11 of Joe Feldman's book, Grading for Equity. In that chapter, we discussed retakes and the misconceptions and the rationale for the practice. When implemented well, it is a powerful practice and communicates to students the goal is about learning the content rather than compliance around task completion. And now I will jump to October. Welcome to October. We had information presented on GIPS expected grading practices. It was described at district level and high school grading and reporting teams. That includes teachers, administrators, and district office staff. The purpose of the teams is to engage in professional learning around grading research, best practices, and provide input and feedback on our current practices. Goes very well with our book that we're reading right now. The updates to our original guiding documents are minor and made with input from the team and reference to research. A summary of the expected practices were presented at the training at the beginning of the year. The areas where questions have surfaced is revising coursework. This is directly from our original guidelines. The purpose of this expectation is to provide students opportunities to demonstrate learning of the content. Ultimately, students need to gain the knowledge and skills that will allow them to access more rigorous content. Missing and late coursework. Students are expected to complete coursework to demonstrate learning. If students have late and or missing work, their grade is not penalized. However, the behavior will dictate a need to intervene and identify the root cause. A student's grade should reflect what students know and can do as it relates to the standards. Grades for students enrolled in the GIPS are based on achievement of content standards which specify what students should know and be able to do. Standards are consistent across schools and classrooms for the same courses in the Grand Island Public Schools. Use of the expected grading practices helps ensure students have the knowledge and skills necessary for the next level of a course, the next grade, or the readiness for college or career. Consistent use of the practices between and amongst teachers, courses, and schools within the district ensures accurate communication of academic performance and provides equitable opportunities for all students to achieve grade level standards. Then Mr. Phillips visited with us about student travel to off-site locations. And he did mention, and Dr. Dexter mentioned it as well, that an additional bus route was provided because, as was stated, administrators were trying to help out by getting students from one location to the other, and we greatly appreciate that effort to do what we need to do for our students. They currently have 583 students that travel to off-site locations. 30% of the 583 travel on an A day and a B day. Mr. Phillips broke that down by academy. The GIST scheduling team will continue to seek ways to decrease the daily travel for students. And you heard Dr. Dahl. Good job, good work. And then we discussed grading for equity on a chapter that was about basically what we talked about with grading practices in regards to late works and extra credit, grading off of participation and effort, and why some of these practices are based with bias, and how to look at real-world aspects. Adults often perceive additional opportunities to grow and improve, such as retake certification tests, receive feedback when training, driver's test, etc. The reason for schools to gain knowledge and grades should reflect the learning. The expectations for students are actually higher. If we follow our grading expectations, it will be difficult for students to opt out of learning. NSCAT's data remains embargoed, and that's all I got. We'll meet again in November, and it will be lovely.
All right, thank you. 12.3 is the Personnel Committee. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. I'll be reporting for the minutes from October 7th. With a new director, we heard a little bit about some priorities for the human resources in reflecting back on the human capital and the strategic plan. 3 priorities were discussed or presented, I should say, being recruitment, benefits, and planning. Under the recruitment, we're really looking at being a little more diverse in our outlets. Having an online application is going to be a huge step forward. And then, like I said, the onboarding procedures and whatnot, just being able to take people in quickly as we can. Under the benefits, we're expanding the voluntary benefits. The HSA is being looked at as maybe having a true HSA. The EAP and the voluntary leave is being looked at, voluntary leaving bank being throughout the district. And the planning is basically looking at reorganization of the department. We did hear the updates on open positions and whatnot, which may not be quite as accurate as what was earlier talked about, but at that time we had an 85% fill rate on substitutes, which is better now. We do have 34 open classified positions and 17 certified open positions, thus the need for substitutes. We do have a new Director of Strategic Communication that was already in the paper, so Mitchell Rausch has been hired. Let's see. We already talked about and approved the the nutrition services substitute pay increase. So with that, I conclude my report. Our next meeting will be November 4th at 8:30.
Okay, thank you. For Policy Committee, Ms. Wolf.
Oh yes, and I'm back, and I get to report for 2 months again, so get pumped and excited. We will start with September. You've heard already about some of the policies that were on first read. They've now moved to final read. But policies that we reviewed were 1310, non-discrimination. Dr. Dexter shared research on the specific language related to hairstyles to be included in the policy updates on this in 1310, 6215, and 6411. Research clarified that term race includes hair texture, hair type, or protective hairstyles with specific examples provided. This is the only proposed update to the policy. 6215, bullying and harassment on the staff side. There's updates under policy for review on 1310, non-discrimination as it applies to the policy 6215, 1310, and 6411. Equal opportunity and affirmative action 6411, same thing, same updates, goes with our non-discrimination policy. And we have already approved the MOU for the YW, so huzzah. And we tabled a policy over to Board of Governance Committee, that's 3212, Superintendent Evaluation. We discussed the CNEA Joint Board Rules of Governance. She shared with the Policy Committee for review. This is how GIPS governs with the I can't say it today. I apologize. I'll just keep going. Dr. Schroeder will present to Facilities and Finance Committee for review. And then we also discussed the COVID executive order that was mentioned to the U.S. on September 9th, related to documents presented by President Biden's executive order in regards to COVID vaccines and employee requirements, visiting with KSB law firm in regards to how that does or does not affect K through 12 education. And then we left. And now I'll go on to October. Policies for review. 8312, excessive absenteeism. Dr. Dexter shared this policy is being evaluated and reviewed with social workers and will be reviewed by legal as well. Just mentioned the process of attendance monitoring and how it operates in GIPS at established absence points, 3 days, 5 days, and so forth, and how it has evolved over time. Proposed updates to this policy come from a need to focus social worker efforts on the higher number of absences. GIPS works in cooperation with the district's attorney office in a positive and proactive way to help families plan improvements to attendance. A flowchart is being developed to track interventions through the attendance monitoring process. A recent program established at the high school level called Night Owl is an example of a positive and proactive approach to improving attendance and graduation rates. Improvements have also been made tracking attendance and synergy at building level, and Dr. Dexter will bring it back for updates. 8430, student appearance. Dr. Dexter and Principal Gilbertson have been working on updates to this policy. Current policy has left the discretion at the school level. This is a challenging topic that has to take into account differences in male and female appearance, as well as equity and bias. Dr. Dexter will bring back further updates and discuss on this policy. And then we had a discussion on the Good News Club, explained the nature of the organization and the request to reserve elementary school buildings for meeting use. Requirements for an organization to request space and use it in GIPS are established and have met by the organization. And we will meet again in November, and that will also be lovely. So thank you.
Thank you. 12.5 is the Public Relations and Partnership Development Committee. Mr. Helinski.
There we go. It wasn't coming up. I apologize there. These are the minutes from the Friday, October 8th meeting. There's a new director of strategic communications and marketing. It's Mitchell Rausch. If I said that last name right, I think I did. Who will begin on October 18th, which is this coming Monday. Mitchell lives in New York and is currently working as a marketing strategist at Hamilton Communications. I know that Ms. Jurgens' husband is ecstatic about losing him. Social media and media analytics. The district which continues about having strong social media presence, and there have been some great media stories recently, such as stories about the Harvard Harmony and construction, students building the Habitat for Humanity houses. And department structure, we talked about the structure of the department with the goal being of more effective and being able to communicate with stakeholders that support the GIPS staff. And the Department 21-22 goals, the communication department has many goals for this year, which include providing the communication support for the administrators and staff and increasing board engagement opportunities, staff recruitment, and more. And then we kind of got into a discussion about the board engagement opportunities, such as going to regular school building tours, which we talked about earlier this evening, and hearing from staff administrators on how the board can best support them. Next meeting will be Friday, November 5th at 8 a.m. And as Ms. Wolf says, it will be lovely.
12.6 is the Grand Island Public Schools Foundation report. Mrs. Jurgens.
Yes, I'll be reporting on no minutes, but some updates. We did not meet in September. But the updates for the foundation are that the foundation closed the classroom mini grant application for round 1 on September 30th. Several proposed are currently under review. This round of grants shall be for projects that will benefit students starting in November or during the spring or summer of 2022. The classroom grant awards will be finalized at the GIPS Foundation Board meeting at the October meeting and distributed to schools in November. The foundation will host a scholarship essay workshop for Gish seniors and their parents on November 10th in the Little Theater at Gish. The GIPS Foundation is partnering with Gear Up and the Greater Grand Island Community Foundation to offer a scholarship fair for our students and parents at the Islander Annex building on Wednesday, December 1st. There will be presentations on the local scholarship applications and booths for students and parents to visit. Several college partners have agreed to be there as well as EduQuest and Gish Academy principals and counselors. We are providing boxed meals and a scholarship drawing, so come on down. It should be a fun night to learn about local scholarships. The foundation operates the Nebraska Association of Public School Foundations organization. This group will host a virtual conference and annual meeting on November 8th. The foundation has received word that we were again awarded the 4-star rating from Charity Navigator. This is a big deal, guys. This rating is based on strong fiscal responsibility and commitment to accountability and transparency. Here's an excerpt from the award letter. We are proud to announce Grand Island Public Schools Foundation has earned our 8th consecutive 4-star rating. This is our highest possible rating and indicates that your organization adheres to sector best practices and executes its mission in a financially efficient way. Only 6% of the charities we evaluate have received at least 8 consecutive 4-star evaluations, indicating that the Grand Island Public Schools Foundation outperforms most other charities in America. Little shout out to one Tracy Scalberg. Yeah, that's no small feat, so clearly a very big deal. The foundation board will have the following business before them at the October 20th meeting: the Flex Plan contract and the classroom grant recommendation. The next meeting is on October 20th at 4:30 p.m. via Zoom. And that concludes that report.
All right, thank you. 12.7 is the Governance Committee. Mrs. Albers.
This is going to be short and sweet. We decided that we're going to meet separately to go over the superintendent evaluation. So those of us that are on that committee will meet up probably at my house and kind of go through that evaluation, see what changes we want to make. Then we had a whole list of things that we, at one point in time, had wanted to discuss. We kind of did a little house cleaning, figured out what was still relevant, what was not still relevant, and what we wanted to discuss in the future. And our next meeting is November 3rd at 7:30 in the morning.
All right, thank you very much. The GNSA Legislative, let me try that again. The GNSA Legislative Committee, that's both Mrs. Albers and myself. And I don't know, do you have anything in particular that you want to share?
Just that we are going to meet before the state conference, so I'll have a meeting from 11 to 1 before we do our equity panel. And then you'll all be happy to know that I will be the delegate that will vote. So I'll get up early that morning and vote for all of you.
Thank you, we appreciate that. And I'm trying to remember the timing. Did we already talk about how we met with Angela Amick? Did we share that last month? Did we meet, when did we meet with her? Does it make, anyway, Angela Amick was here. We talked to her. She's our lobbyist, and we talked about things that we can gear up for the next legislative session, which will be here before we know it. And you probably all saw that the redistricting is complete at the state level, the county level, and soon it will come to us to work on. All right, 12.9 is NASB monthly update. It's attached there. You can read that. And again, looking forward to the state conference at the end of November. It's always a good time. Agenda item 13 is the executive session for the purpose of negotiations because it is in the best interest of the public to discuss the matter in closed session. Do I have a motion? Mr. Barsonis.
I make a recommendation for the board to convene to executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations.
We make a motion to reconvene?
Yes.
We're ready to go.
But you might want to wait for a few more people to come in, so we have a quorum to vote.
How many do we need?
We need Lindsay.
Second.
Lindsay and Dave are the only two missing, right?
I've been told I'm impatient.
Yeah. Okay, now you can go ahead.
Make a motion to reconvene from executive session?
And is there a second? Second, Mr. Brown. Please vote. Motion passes. There is no approval needed from the executive session. Our upcoming board meetings is November 11th at 5:30 p.m. And we are adjourned. Thank you.